The first MCU hero to debut on Disney Plus has finally arrived on Steelbooks. Hey everyone, Joe here from the Collection Compass, and welcome to our Marvel Studios Moon Knight, the complete first season Steelbook unboxing. I say the complete first season very loosely because for some abnormal reason, this wave of Disney Plus shows was a little bit particular with how they labeled things, considering the fact is Falcon Winter Soldier really the first season? Is it really going to have more? Same with Moon Knight. Like, we kind of hope, but like at the same time, if there was ever anything concrete about it to warrant that. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to say the least, you know. This will just be the Moon Knight unboxing, so hopefully if we do get season 2, which I do hope so, we do, this will be great. If not, then well, at least, you know, we future-proofed it in a matter of speaking. But here it is. This is the 4th Disney Plus MCU show to get its own Steelbook. This is the 4th one also to get its own official physical media release here in America. And I'm very, very happy. As I stated before, in nearly every single Disney Plus Steelbook unboxing I have produced so far, this is the last one for the time being, that I have been superbly happy that Disney has managed to grant us what we wanted for so long, was that, you know, these projects to be available at some point to physically own, because again, the current conversation of that, you know, certain digital only content, if they ever get deleted off a platform, unless you're streaming it illegally, there was never going to be a legal way to be able to watch it and own it, you know. There's a whole conversation about that. So this being at least having now 4 MCU series available at some form to own for your physical media collection, to just own them period, outside of the Disney Plus platform was just so great. And the amount of TLC, the amount of, you know, effort they put into these releases has been amazing, and Moon Knight for sure continues that through line. As you know, when it was first revealed, I was like, damn, this looks so freaking cool. It's a little bit different from the others, from the other 3 so far. They all have a unique style to it. This one was a little bit more front and center, if that makes sense. The other ones feel like it was more unified. I know the wording doesn't quite make sense a little bit, but take it how WandaVision, Loki, and Falcon and Winter Soldier, they all had a sense of like unifying the elements of their show. This one was kind of being bold in front about Moon Knight, and then also below Mr. Knight. And honestly, in a way, if you have seen the show already, it kind of already brings in a little bit of like what you're expecting to see from the show itself. As when you eventually get into it, you really start to really unravel the mind that is Mark Spector and his counterpart, and just how this mystery kind of like slowly unravels, you know, well, quite literally, considering the fact the character is technically made of fabric, at least his costume is, so he's kind of raveling himself. I'm just saying things that are coincidentally making sense to an extent. But with that all being said, let's get into the Marvel Studios Moon Knight Steelbook. So first things first, side A, the main cover, you got Moon Knight in his full heroic suit. Then you have Mr. Knight, which is the other Moon Knight, if that makes sense, as the main character. At least when you first meet him, is Stephen Grant, and when he is awakened, he is a bit more bumbly. He's a little bit more cautious, a little bit more reserved. Then you meet his other self, who is more confident, more bravo, and they both have this altered ego, this other heroic entity within them. One becomes the Moon Knight, and the other one becomes Mr. Knight. And, you know, Bob's your uncle after the races there, as you slowly try to realize who this man really is. And I feel like that plays into the dual identity of things, where Mark Spector is, I guess it's kind of always weird when it comes to, like, you know, a multi-personality character, where, like, who is, like, really the primary. And yeah, for an extent, you know, for the show, it is Mark Spector, and, you know, it makes sense that he is the prominent figure, he is the main figure here, and then Steven is, you know, the smaller self, Mr. Knight, is still a core part of him, but just not as big, because he's not the primary personality. He's just, you know, one of the many ones inside of him. And that's kind of where, you know, I think this is the perfect thing to actually represent the series as a whole, in terms of like the overall, you know, here it is in terms of the first sheet you see from the Steelbook, and then also you have the hieroglyphics on the side, you know, just trying to, like, you know, again, this film is this series is very much based around in Egypt, in the ruins of just the mythologicals of gods, you know. As you know, we kind of seen that in the Thor films and in the Black Panther films to a certain extent, and this kind of quite continues that lineage there. It's kind of weird, like, you know, a little mild spoilers where, like, it kind of had some resemblance, a little bit of like a similarity to when you got to Love and Thunder, and a brief extent to Wakanda Forever. So like it kind of felt like they were all unified, but it's just like being in the same mythos and everything about that sort. So it just kind of makes sense with this one, and just showing you like again another new kind of interesting corner of the MCU that, you know, even in a post-Endgame world, we're still learning more things about it. And, you know, trial and error, I think this is one of those, like, rare times where, like, it was morely focused on building its own mythos, but as well as understanding that, like, yes, we are part of this very weird, complicated, you know, connected universe with other heroes from all different breeds and such. On the backside, you see the god, Kanashu, I believe his name was. I apologize, I do pronounce it. He's basically the main deity. He is the main deity that Mark Spector and Stephen Grant team up upon to use his abilities for them to become the superpowered individuals they become when they transform. And, you know, there's a bit of a complicated relationship with them, you know, and, you know, he is one of the more uniquely designed characters I've seen in the MCU. He very much is not trying to be an advisor, not trying to be a friend. He's got his own agenda. He's got his own priorities to reach. But he kind of knows, like, okay, I got no choice. I really got to team up with these two because in order to like accomplish my goals, as well as, you know, to prevent any, you know, severe incidents from happening. Cause like, you know, there are other deities who may not be in the same game. And that's kind of where we pick up with the story right there once you get to it, really. And, you know, I just love it. Like, again, like, you know, one side is like, you know, they're both the same sides of the same coin in a way, where, like, you know, even more so than, like, you know, Mark and Steven, where, like, Mark and Steven have to work with Nashu in order to, like, for them to use the abilities in order to, like, get them to get going on their story. So it's very much like, you know, we need the other for it to operate, sort of thing. And, you know, again, he's just so really cool. And they just both have this, like, weird symbiotic, you know, relationship. All of them do. And it just, you know, it comes out perfectly in the Steelbook. And then in a way, when you put them both together, it looks so freaking cool. Like, you know, for me, how my interpretation of it is, you know, when Mark and Steve are looking straight at us, like, you know, they're trying to do their own thing, but while Nashu's looking at them, realizing, like, yeah, the reason why Nashu can't look ahead because he can't do these things on his own. He needs someone to be the mediator, the connector between our world and his, and this is the only way he can do it. So, and also, I just love the symmetry between these. I really, really do. And just, like, the color grading, just the way they stand out with the color, just with gray being so prominent with some of the gold and black. It was really well done. Again, shout out to the artist who created this and, you know, managed to put his own stamp on the Steelbooks everywhere. We get into the J card of it, where we get to see the logo. The Moon Knight logo is, again, I think it was one of the rare ones that actually, like, had a continuation into the actual release, because sometimes Marvel Studios would announce projects with different logos and then use completely different ones when it comes closer to release. Again, it's probably a temp holder. I think this one looks so perfectly because, like, you get, like, the moon actually in the moon, and that's so really cool. That really is. I've always been interested and fascinated as Moon Knight as a character, because I played Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, I believe, or it was even Spider-Man Web of Shadow. One of those two projects where, like, Moon Knight was featured in it, he was just a small part of it. And I was always curious about the character, so I was always, like, really angsty, like, maybe one day he'll get some sort of, like, live-action appearance, and after all these years, he finally does. And, you know, I think his logo looks pretty damn cool. And on the backside of the J card, you see the usual, like, one picture from the show, which, sadly, it is the same image from inside the Steelbook. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The disc and the cards you get as part of it, 3 episodes per disc, and then never before seen features, which includes the blooper reel, deleted scenes from the show, a feature called Egyptology, talking more about how the mythos of our world kind of help make this show more grounded, more believable, and then the assembled documentary based on the show, which, again, I'm still kind of mad they used that to, like, kind of fill out the behind-the-scenes features, but I do understand, because in the fact, if you don't have Disney Plus and you can't watch it like that, then it would make sense for that to be included in this case. The inside of the cover, which is, you know, side C and D, I will be honest, I do have a criticism when it comes to, like, really not using side D to its full potential. There were probably other cool shots from the show that they could have pulled upon, but seeing Mr. Knight and Kanashu trying to work around the moon in order to work in benefit of wherever they were in this point in the story was cool to see. But however, you know, and yes, I do understand you do see an imagery here, but for me, it's, like, not fully being utilized, so I don't really fully count it as being used, so I will dock some points on that for that. You know, it's just most of the case where, like, yeah, I do understand that discs are morally covering, but I'm like, if you're gonna put color in, at least do something more a little bit more to it, at least in my opinion. Then you have the 2 discs, one being each of them having the weapon of choice from each of the personalities with Kanashu's manifestation. We have here his moon daggers. So these are daggers shaped like moons. This is what Moon Knight does, and these are the nunchucks that Mr. Knight uses. So again, I do appreciate that these make sense, that these were chosen for the symbols for the actual disc themselves. So I do give them credit on that front. However, I will say, yeah, the color, the choice of color, this is one of those rare times I probably would have taken a gray, considering the fact it would have worked. I know yellow is still a cool color to you, but I'm like, I don't know, I would have preferred a little bit of gray for these discs at least. This is the one time I would have preferred the gray disc from Disney. Then, as always, for the concept cards, the concept art cards that we get with every one of these Steelbooks, we get 3 of them. The first one that I want to show off is a moonlight overlooking Egypt. This is probably just like figuring out what the costume was going to look like in live action, which, again, from what I remember, it's more very detailed than the comics version. The comics version is very much like, you know, still the same color scheme and everything. It's only that there's so many, like the fabric being used, like it's like wraps, like bandage wraps, like those, like the ones like they use for mummies. If I have to like make a quick analogy and an example of it, and this one being somewhat of like that same feature, so like the suit becomes well more detailed, a little bit more, you know, you see the wear and tear on it. You know, this isn't like fresh fabric, this is very much like used and everything like that. I think it gives more character to the actual outfit, and I really do like this suit. I think it's one of my favorite MCU suits of all time. So hopefully if we ever do get to see Moon Knight again, that he just like keeps using the same outfit, I would have no complaints with that one. Over here with the second concept art, you see the Scarlet Scarab. I believe that is her superhero name that she chose for herself off screen of the show. I do remember, you know, I want to say this is an original character to the MCU. I would not be surprised if there was like a minor character in the comics that they pulled out for this. Again, representation matters, so having I don't want to mess up with ethnicity, so I won't say anything, but I do know the actress said, like, you know, it's not every day that someone in her background, in her ethnic background, it gets to play superhero, and like we'll get to inspire others in her community, that, you know, anyone can be a superhero. And I really do like the costume. I really do. You got like the, you know, Egyptian garb she wears in her main outfit, and then you have the wings, golden, and like, you know, as her weapon of choice. So again, I found it to be really cool as a costume designer. I think if I'm really squinting correctly, she has extra makeup on her eyes, which was not present in the final version of the suit. So again, like, you know, the costume design in this series was really spot on. It really was. And then finally we get to see one of the big battles at the end of the show, which I kind of falls into like that okay, yeah, this kind of seemed like out of order, out of place. I guess, you know, we had to still make this like an MCU big final fight scene. So seeing a giant Kanashu fight off the villain was, okay, you know what, I kind of understand where they were going for that, but at the same time, I mean, I would have loved to have to see a more deeper, close enough fight with Moon Knight with the primary villain for this series. That would have been my preference on the matter. Now, in terms of the actual show itself, the quality of it, because, you know, obviously, you know, as much as this is a beautiful piece of home media, does the show hold up to it? I understand that this year, when it came out, even a little bit beforehand, like when you're looking at the first, I guess, every single MCU show, it has not been hitting. You know, I guess there is the expectation that, like, you know, Endgame has really, like, you know, that, oh, every project going forward has to be Endgame level quality, which, again, that is something to reach, but again, not every project is that culmination. You know, sometimes you are introducing new elements of the MCU, you are introducing new characters, and this one was in a very particular spot where this was, I think, the only project in the MCU so far that has, you know, been in the MCU, but they have not really had a direct reference to the Avengers, to the Guardians, to any larger MCU reference outside of their little corner of the world. It's, you know, besides one Easter egg, that was about it. And I was honestly pretty surprised that, you know, that we didn't get anything from it. And, you know, honestly, it helped with the story, because, like, you know, it was able to stay grounded. It was able to stay condensed on what it was trying to do, trying to really, like, okay, we got 6 episodes, regardless if you find that, you know, that episode count to be worthy or not, but that's all they had. That's all they had to work with, and they made it work. They, I don't think it's quite a perfect story. I definitely feel like it's, you know, that 6 episodes is like, sometimes it's enough, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes you're on the right track if you were on an 8 to 10 episode season, and then when you realize you have 6 and you have to kind of rush everything out. This kind of felt like that thing where like a lot of these moments did hit. It did really much work. It just felt like some story decisions kind of didn't really, come fully together by the end. It definitely leaves you wanting more from this this cast of characters, from this world, and but honestly speaking, I do understand there were some glaring little issues throughout the show that kind of didn't make it the full enjoyable experience that I was quite hoping for. But this is what the one cast where like almost every single primary player in this show really brought themselves, knowing that this was like kind of like in a way possibly a one-time thing. You are bringing Oscar Isaac for his third comic book role after Apocalypse and X-Men, and then Miguel O'Hara in the Spider-Verse film. Like this is his like the first time he's playing a hero in live action, and I think he does a really phenomenal job. He's such a great actor, and he really gets to like showcase his acting chops here, and as well as playing 2 different versions of the character. I think, and having them be a bit different but similar is just was such a feat to see. And I know it's not the first time it's been done, but like in this medium, it just hasn't been seen, at least in my eyes, just quite yet. So I will give him the highest kudos that he was able to like balance those 2 out. And then the villain, oh god, you had Ethan Hawke, which I've only seen in a handful of projects beforehand, but like he is such an actor that would not normally be the one to like just do a traditional comic book project, but him actually being sold in the story and the premise, and actually having like this was kind of the opposite where like to the Christian Bale situation in Gore and Love and Thunder, where like you had such talented actors and they really utilized him. They really did, to make him a different type of villain. He's not like the physical machismo, but he definitely does have his own aura around him that kind of makes him more intimidating as a result. And I think they definitely found a way to like really put him against Moon Knight in this aspect. Like, he doesn't have a supervillain costume. He just has a plain looking outfit, but he's still very much a threat that, is someone to fear, someone to actually be concerned about. This isn't like something that, you should not take lightly of the whole thing. So definitely just those 2 casting directions alone sold the show for me. And, Kanashi's voice really much, was a different sort for me. It definitely very much sold him on the character, and just everyone else part of this, just again brought their A game. And again, you could say what you want about the show, but you can say that that they did their best. They really try to make this its own thing. I think it's one of those rare projects where like if they were to announce that, hey, this is not in the MCU, this is a Marvel Studios production, but it's not in the MCU, I would not be surprised. I really would be, because in fact they're just acting like this is its own thing. This is its own world, and I think it works as a result of it. It really does. And I would just hope they get to like have another opportunity, a much longer opportunity, like keep telling more of these stories, telling more of Moon Knight, and seeing what is next for these. So from a show perspective, I enjoyed it a lot. I really did. From a Steelbook perspective, from a physical media perspective, this is the 4K version. There is a Blu-ray version. Again, the cover arts are the exact same thing. It is just disc. So if you only care about owning it in your collection, not really interested in watching it for yourself, the Blu-ray version does save you $5 or so. So I would recommend that. But if you do want the highest quality possible, yes, the 4K version is the way to go. In terms of just that alone, just in the general cover of it, I love this. I love it a lot. I think they really do their absolute best when it comes to these front end covers. Regardless of how you're going to display it, I think both sides just work out super perfectly and super even. The inside being, again, you say what you want about that, but again, the goodies and everything you're getting for the price alone, I think it is worth it. I really think it is. It is very important in this day and age to support as much physical media as you can if you want to see it keep going. As much as it is a very expensive hobby. These Steelbooks costing nearly $45, $50 a pop is not cheap. It really isn't. But I think, the return of an investment to like eventually hopefully get more, such as Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, maybe even the What Ifs to come home, are even higher, and it comes from supporting these new avenues such as this one. So for me personally speaking, if you have the opportunity to purchase them, if you are a physical media collector, if you're especially a fan of the MCU, I definitely think this is a must buy for you. I definitely would recommend it, and I hope to see more of these, because of the support. But with that all being said, I would highly recommend picking up this Steelbook. You can find it right now on Amazon. on Target and on Walmart. So please go check it out there. And I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been the Collection Compass bringing you an unboxing of Moon Knight. Let me know in the comments down below. Did you purchase Moon Knight? What are your thoughts on the Steelbook? Are you going to be purchasing the Steelbook? I'd love to have a conversation with you about it. But again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Like, favorite, share if you want to. Ring that bell and follow us on social media. But until we see each other again, please stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.